This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on significance and key aspects of Smart India Hackathon 2023. The participants are Pawan Duggal, IT and cybersecurity expert, and Omvesh Upadhyay, Akashvani correspondent.
The grand finale of Smart India Hackathon 2023 is currently being held from 19th to 23rd of December. Listeners, Smart India Hackathon is a nationwide initiative to provide students a platform to solve the pressing problems of government, industries, and other organizations. This hackathon was launched in 2017 and has gained massive popularity among young innovators. And today, to talk more on this, we are joined by cyber expert Pawan Duggal. Welcome to the program, Mr. Duggal.
Thank you.
To begin the discussion, I would like to get an overview from your side about the Smart India Hackathon and how does it contribute to fostering innovation in India?
The Smart India Hackathon is a remarkable step forward in terms of nurturing the cyber talents of the Indian youths. Today, there's no denying the fact that cyberspace has become an integral part of our day-to-day lives. After COVID-19, we've seen massive digitization and more Indians have come up onto the digital bandwagon without really being made to be prepared for how to deal with the cyber issues. Consequently, we have begun to start seeing that post-COVID, the golden age of cybercrime has already begun, with online financial frauds, phishing and identity theft being the trinity of cybercrimes that's of paramount prevalence in today's scenario. Further, we're also beginning to start that in India, cybersecurity breaches are becoming a matter of immense concern. Not only are cybersecurity breaches bleeding the Indian economy and the Indian nation, they could also potentially have an impact on the sovereignty, security and integrity of India. Last year, in 2022, the world had lost more than $6 trillion to cybersecurity breaches, and a big chunk of that came from India. This year, by the end of 2023, it is anticipated that the world is likely to lose more than $8 trillion to these cybersecurity breaches. So in these new changed scenarios, it's very important that the Indian population, the Indian youth, need to be sensitized about the cyber realities of today and the need for us to contribute into making the ecosystem more cyber secure. That's why, since the cyber ecosystem is spread across both the private and the public sectors, there's a growing necessity for India to harness the cyber talents of its youth. Keeping these parameters in mind, this national hackathon has been organized, and this is now the sixth odd year that we are currently doing so. This year assumes more significance as compared to earlier years, for the very simple reason that this year India has seen some massive explosive growth of artificial intelligence, including generative artificial intelligence. More and more Indians are now using generative artificial intelligence, both for legal and also for illegal purposes. Already cyber criminals are laughing all the way to the bank because they have begun to start using cybercrime as a service powered by artificial intelligence. So in a scenario like this hackathon becomes very important in terms of trying to identify what are the potential loopholes, the gray zones from which the cyber criminals or cyber state or non-state actors could breach the cyber security of Indian governmental and corporate networks, and what further steps need to be taken so as to make the Indian cyber ecosystem a far more secure, far more resilient, and far more reliable system to be. And it's in this context that this particular hackathon is playing a yeoman's role. Not only it's helping encourage Indians to participate in this hackathon and also identify key loopholes which can be plugged, but more significantly, it's also inculcating amongst the participants that they all have to start adopting cyber security as a way of life. That being so, I think these kind of hackathons have to be done on a more frequent basis so that more and more Indians can be involved into this entire ecosystem. Let every Indian be a cyber warrior who's out there to protect India, Indian sovereign interests, as also their own personal data and their personal privacies as well. And in this particular context, government needs to be particularly commended for their remarkable vision, since they started this way back in 2017, and for their continued persistence in doing massive capacity building. Already we have the Prime Minister of the country leading the country by example. His cyber savviness is known all over the world, but his constant underlining of the growing importance of cybersecurity and the need for people to adopt cyber hygiene way of life has really struck a chord in the minds and the hearts of Indians at large. And therefore, these kind of hackathons need to be organized on more regular, frequent basis. More and more Indians need to be brought into this entire ecosystem so that they can all contribute in their own remarkable but small manners in making the Indian cyberspace more secure and more reliable.
Absolutely, Mr. Duggal. You rightly highlighted the objective of the hackathon, and in that sense, can you please elaborate on the significance of the Smart India Hackathon whenever we'll talk about in promoting the culture of problem solving and technological innovation among youngsters, especially because during the inaugural address, Prime Minister Modi also stressed on the mantra of 21st century of India, which is Jai Jawan, Jai Kishan, Jai Vigyan and Jai Anusandhan. How do you see that, and especially the roles of youngsters in the problem solving and technological innovation?
India is currently at a very interesting cusp of global history as we talk about. The reason is not only India has become the most populous nation with 1.4 billion people and growing, but more significantly, India has become a kind of a cyber powerhouse for the world at large. And being led by the Prime Minister of such a wonderful caliber like Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has begun to start taking thought leadership on various cyber issues. It was for various bilateral meetings that the Prime Minister had with various heads of state, or during the G20 presidency of India, where a lot of cyber issues got to be escalated at the global discussion table, to leading the country by example. I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi has to be complimented in inculcating a new sense of zest, inspiration and vigor, and also energy amongst the Indian youth. A big chunk of the Indian population is below the age of 35 years, so the youngsters are going to be our building blocks. And if these youngsters can be appropriately sensitized about not just the importance of cybersecurity, but also the need for finding solutions to problems. We've seen earlier that people have been complaining about various problems, but right now the focus has now shifted. This government wants people to find solutions to problems, and therefore are openly encouraging people to come onto these hackathon kind of a platform so as to give vent to not just their creative energies, but also help in nation building as at large. Because when you are going to help in identifying the vulnerabilities in governmental and corporate systems, not only you are contributing in making them more secure, but ultimately you're also contributing in protecting and preserving the cybersecurity of India at large as a nation, apart from also contributing in the preservation and protection of the sovereignty, security and integrity of India, and also Indian cyber sovereign interest in cyberspace at large. So in that particular regard, this new slogan that the Prime Minister has given is most topical, primarily because with the advent of AI, Indians have to not just go ahead and be circumspect, be cyber resilient, but also keep on openly adopting these newly emerging technologies, whether it's artificial intelligence, blockchain, or Internet of Things, for the purposes of harnessing their constructive potential for the purposes of nation building, apart from strengthening their own cyber skills. So these youngsters will be the cyber warriors that India will be producing. And by organizing these kinds of Smart India hackathons that the government has been doing, you are effectively giving a platform that was hitherto not given or known to Indians at large. People by and large felt that, look, they are not going to get access to these kinds of platforms. But with these platforms effectively providing a unique way of using technology to reach out to the maximum number of people, of harnessing the potential and the capabilities of the Indian youth, and also channelizing them in the direction of protecting and preserving Indian cybersecurity is a very remarkable win-win strategy, both from the perspective of the government and also from the perspective of the Indian youth. Already with the massive focus on entrepreneurship that this particular government has given, this particular focus on entrepreneurship, when I mingle that with these hackathons happening place, we're going to see a plethora of new startups. Already India is seeing a very fertile test bed for startups happening in the country. But now with these kinds of hackathons, more and more youngsters would be encouraged to start their own cyber security startups, their cyber ecosystem startups, which can ultimately help in not just making Indian cyber ecosystem more secure, more robust, more fertile, but more significantly can also become a benchmarking exercise for other nations of the world to follow. So all said and done, I think it's a great idea to have these kinds of hackathons. If you are able to harness the potential of the Indian youth, and there's a huge volume of that, India has the potentiality of becoming an IT superpower under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and under the remarkable initiatives that this government is doing on various thrust areas of cyberspace as also cybersecurity at large.
Indeed, Mr. Duggal, you very rightly said that how India is emerging as the power hub of cyber security, cyber innovation. And as a validation of that, if we look at the Smart India Hackathon, in this year's hackathon, more than 50,000 ideas were received from around 44,000 teams, which is almost a seven-fold increase compared to the first edition. So whenever we look at events like these, hackathons like these, how do you think they contribute to address real-world challenges and support the government's initiative in various technological sectors to provide low-cost, quality, sustainable and scalable solutions to global challenges?
These hackathons are providing a fresh stream of new ideas to the government. Already the government has a bureaucracy, has its own ecosystem. But then once this particular ecosystem gets strengthened by new ideas, by new innovative approaches, as your figures have also said, 50,000 new ideas from 44,000 new teams of India, it's an unthinkable process. And by means of this, if each one of these ideas are picked up by the relevant policymakers or the decision makers and implemented, I think India will be a different place to live altogether. Further, India already is becoming a most attractive, fertile destination for almost all cyber and IT companies. So if these crystal clear stream of new ideas is constantly feeding the governmental thought process and the government methodology, so we are going to see a remarkable combination, not just of very astute political statesmanship and the thought leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but also with the very proactive approaches of the current Indian government in reaching out to majority of Indian stakeholders, and was also giving a massive opportunity for youngsters to start contributing in nation building in the word go. Because today cyber is the biggest thrust area as far as the Indian economy is concerned. And it's the common heritage of all Indians, and therefore every Indian has a responsibility to ensure that they contribute in the direction of making Indian ecosystems in cyberspace more secure and more resilient. That's why the 50,000 odd ideas that would have originated in this year's Smart India Hackathon would definitely provide a new vistas of imagination, of thrust areas, of new projects that can be initiated by the government. And these ideas will not just go ahead and enhance productivity, will ultimately end up making the Indian cyber ecosystem a much more better pastry, and also contributing by, instilling a new culture in the minds of the youngsters. Mind you, if these youngsters are contributing these ideas, and these ideas are in an official national skills hackathon, then clearly this is just the tip of the iceberg as well as the youngsters are concerned. They're going to feel massively encouraged and inspired to come up with more better ideas to help the governmental and the corporate ecosystem be more productive, more fertile, more secure and more resilient. And this could actually start off a new wave of a new cyber revolution as far as India is concerned. So this is a way of reaching out to the Indian youngsters at large. Indian youngsters have also now realized that they have an equal role to play in strengthening the hands of the government by coming up with these innovative ideas. And it's in this regard that I believe that these exercises like the President Hackathon represent a massive thought leadership movement. It's a giant leap for a nation at large, which previously was not yet in a position to go ahead and harness the potentialities and the massive potential and capabilities of the youngsters. With now new vistas, new offerings and new opportunities coming up, I believe India has got the sky as far as is concerned in terms of new ideas, new initiatives, and through these new ideas that these hackathons are going to generate, India can also become a kind of a referencing model point for other nations. Because once India takes some of these important ideas and implements the same, other countries are going to be inspired to follow the Indian example and also go ahead and strengthen their respective cyber economies. So all said and done, a great initiative, a fantastic effort, and it's a massive win-win, both from the government, from the corporate sector, and from the youngsters as well.
And with these insightful input, we conclude the program. Thank you so much, Mr. Duggal, for joining us today on Akashvani.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Significance and Key Aspects of Smart India Hackathon 2023. The participants were Pawan Duggal, IT and Cyber Security Expert, and Omvesh Upadhyay, Akashvani Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 92890 94044.